MH370, the flight that vanished forever.
On March 8, 2014, a massive Boeing 777 vanished into thin air.
239 people, gone. No distress call, no wreckage, no answers. For 11 years, this plane has been missing. And here's what makes it terrifying. It didn't just crash. Someone flew it into the most remote part of the ocean on Earth, on purpose. The Malaysian government tried to hide it. Families were lied to. And the truth? It's darker than anyone imagined. But the real shock isn't what happened to Flight MH370. It's what they found when they started looking. Satellite data that proves the plane flew for 7 more hours after it disappeared. A pilot's home flight simulator with a route to nowhere, and phone calls that were never supposed to be made. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 things that will change everything you thought you knew. First, the exact moment MH370 vanished from radar, and why it wasn't an accident. Second, the secret military radar data that tracked the plane as it turned around and flew the opposite direction. No one was supposed to see this. And third, the breakthrough discovery in 2024 that finally revealed where the plane might be and why the search is starting again right now in 2025. This isn't just another plane crash. This is the greatest mystery in aviation history. And after watching this, you'll understand why some people don't want it solved. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 was supposed to be routine. Red-eye flight, Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, 6 hours in the air. The plane was a Boeing 777-200ER, one of the safest aircraft ever built. It had flown for 17 years without a single major issue. On board, 227 passengers and 12 crew members. Families heading home. Business travelers. 2 Iranian men flying on stolen passports. We'll come back to them. The captain was Zahari Ahmad Shah, 53 years old. 18,000 flight hours. He'd been flying for Malaysia Airlines for 33 years. Experienced, trusted, well-liked. The first officer was Farik Abdul Hamid, 27 years old. This was his first flight on a 777 without a training captain watching him. At 12:41 a.m., the plane pushed back from the gate, right on time. At 12:42 a.m., it began taxiing to the runway. At 0:42 a.m. local time, MH370 lifted off into the night sky. Clear weather, calm winds, perfect flying conditions. For the next 38 minutes, everything was normal. The plane climbed to 35,000 feet. It flew northeast toward Vietnam. Air traffic control in Kuala Lumpur handed the flight over to controllers in Ho Chi Minh City. At 1:19 a.m., the last radio transmission came through.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Professional, nothing unusual. That was the last time anyone heard from Flight MH370. 2 minutes later, at 1:21 a.m., the plane's transponder shut off. This is the device that tells radar who you are, where you are, and how high you're flying. Without it, you become a ghost. Air traffic controllers waited. They expected MH370 to check in. It never did. At first, no one panicked. Radio failures happen. Planes switch frequencies. Controllers assumed it was a technical glitch. But then the sun came up, and MH370 still hadn't landed in Beijing. That's when they knew something was catastrophically wrong. Search and rescue teams scrambled. They looked in the South China Sea, where the plane should have been. Nothing. No wreckage, no oil slick, no debris. Here's the shocking part. While everyone searched in the wrong place, military radar had been watching the whole time. And they saw something incredible. Now here's where things get really interesting. The plane didn't disappear. It turned around. Malaysian military radar tracked an unknown aircraft flying back across the country. It crossed the Malay Peninsula. It flew between Thailand and Indonesia. Then it vanished into the Andaman Sea. For days, Malaysia's military stayed silent. They didn't tell the search teams. They didn't tell the families. They didn't tell anyone. When the truth finally came out, the timeline changed everything. At 1:21 a.m., the transponder went dark. But the plane kept flying. Military radar tracked it for another hour. It made a sharp left turn. Not a gentle banking turn, like you'd see in normal flight. A deliberate, programmed turn. The plane flew back over Malaysia. It passed directly over Penang, the captain's hometown. Some say this was intentional. A final goodbye. Then it flew up the Strait of Malacca. This is one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. But at 2 a.m., in the darkness, no one on the ground noticed a massive passenger jet flying overhead. At 2:22 a.m., military radar lost contact. The plane had flown beyond their range. Everyone assumed it crashed somewhere in the Andaman Sea. At 2:22 a.m., military radar lost contact. The plane had flown beyond their range. Everyone assumed it crashed somewhere in the Andaman Sea. It sent an automatic signal to a satellite above the Indian Ocean, like your phone checking for Wi-Fi, even when you're not using it. These pings don't tell you exactly where the plane is, but they tell you how far away it is from the satellite. Think of it like a game of hot and cold. Inmarsat had 7 pings. The last one came at 8:19 a.m., almost 7 hours after the transponder shut off. This changed everything. The plane didn't crash in the South China Sea. It didn't crash in the Andaman Sea. It flew for 7 more hours across the Indian Ocean into the middle of nowhere. But here's what made investigators' blood run cold. Someone had to be flying it. Planes don't fly themselves for 7 hours. Someone was in control. Someone made decisions. Someone chose where to go. The satellite data revealed 2 possible paths: north toward Kazakhstan or south toward the southern Indian Ocean. Investigators quickly ruled out the northern route. Too many military radars. Someone would have seen it, which meant only one option remained. MH370 flew south, into the most remote part of the ocean on Earth. A place so isolated that it's called the Spacecraft Cemetery, because that's where space agencies crash their satellites when they're done with them. There's nothing out there. No islands, no shipping lanes, no flight paths. Just water. Thousands of miles of empty water. And then, at 8:19 a.m., the final ping. After that, silence. Investigators used complex mathematics to calculate where that final ping came from. They called it the 7th arc, a curved line across the southern Indian Ocean, where the plane had to be. The search began in April 2014. Ships from Australia, China, and Malaysia scoured the ocean floor. They used sonar. They used underwater drones. They mapped millions of square kilometers of seafloor that had never been seen before. For 3 years, they searched. They found nothing. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. In July 2015, a piece of wreckage washed up on Reunion Island, a tiny island in the Indian Ocean, thousands of miles from where MH370 disappeared. It was a flaperon, part of the wing. Investigators examined it, ran tests, checked serial numbers. It came from MH370. This was the first physical proof that the plane had crashed. But it also raised a terrifying question. If this piece drifted to Reunion Island, where did the rest of the plane go? Ocean drift models were run. Computer simulations predicted where debris should wash up. And over the next few years, more pieces appeared. In Madagascar, in Mozambique, in South Africa, in Tanzania. Each piece told part of the story, but not the whole story. Here's what made investigators suspicious. The debris suggested the plane had broken apart on impact. A high-speed crash into the ocean. But the satellite data suggested something different. The plane didn't nosedive. It glided. Someone flew it down, smoothly, into the water. Like they were trying to sink it intact. Like they didn't want it to be found. Boeing engineers studied the flaperon. They found something disturbing. The way it broke suggested the flaps were retracted in a normal crash. Pilots extend the flaps to slow down. But MH370's flaps were up, which means the pilot wasn't trying to land. He was trying to disappear. Then investigators found something even more shocking. Captain Zahari's home flight simulator. Police seized it after the plane vanished. They recovered deleted files. And what they found made their hands shake. 6 weeks before MH370 disappeared, Zahari had run a simulation. He practiced flying a route from Kuala Lumpur, up the Strait of Malacca, then south into the Indian Ocean. The simulation ended when the plane ran out of fuel over the southern Indian Ocean. The exact same path MH370 took. When this leaked to the media, the internet exploded. Everyone had the same question. Did the captain deliberately crash the plane? The Malaysian government denied it. They said there was no evidence of foul play. They insisted Zahari was a good man, a family man. He had no reason to do this. But investigators kept digging, and they found cracks in his life. His marriage was falling apart. His wife had reportedly moved out. His political hero, opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim, had been convicted just hours before the flight. Some say Zahari was devastated, angry at the government, looking for a way to make a statement. Others say that's nonsense, that he was a professional, that he'd never hurt innocent people. The truth? We still don't know. But here's what we do know. Someone depressurized the cabin. At 35,000 feet without oxygen, passengers would lose consciousness in seconds. They'd be dead in minutes, painlessly, like falling asleep. The plane's systems were manually shut down, one by one, methodically, like someone who knew exactly what they were doing. And the route? It avoided radar. It flew along international borders where no one country had full coverage. It exploited gaps in the system. This wasn't random. This was planned. But by who? The captain? The first officer? A hijacker? We may never know. What we do know is this. After the plane turned south, it flew on autopilot for hours. No one was steering. It just flew straight until it ran out of fuel. At 8:19 a.m., the left engine quit. Out of fuel. The plane became unstable. It started descending. A minute later, the right engine quit. Now the plane was falling. Fast. It had no power, no hydraulics, no control. The autopilot disconnected. The plane began to spiral. Down, down, down. At some point, it hit the water. At hundreds of miles per hour. The impact would have been catastrophic. Instant. Final. And then it sank. 3 miles down. Into the darkness. Into the abyss. The ocean floor there is jagged, full of underwater mountains and trenches. The pressure at that depth would crush a human instantly. And anything that sank there would be hidden forever. Or so everyone thought. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. In 2024, a British engineer named Richard Godfrey made a breakthrough. He used a technology that sounds like science fiction. It's called WSPR, Weak Signal Propagation Reporter. Stay with me, this is simple. Amateur radio operators around the world constantly send signals to each other. Thousands of them, every minute. These signals bounce off the atmosphere. They travel across continents. And when something big, like an airplane, passes through the signal, it creates a disturbance. Think of it like throwing a rock into a pond. you see ripples. WSPR detects ripples in radio waves. Godfrey analyzed 10 years of WSPR data from the night MH370 disappeared. He tracked every disturbance, every anomaly, every ripple, and he found something incredible. He tracked the plane's entire flight path, from takeoff to the final dive. He saw it turn back over Malaysia. He saw it fly up the Strait of Malacca. He saw it turn south, and he pinpointed where it crashed. Not just a general area, a specific location, down to a few square kilometers. His findings pointed to a spot west of Australia, in the southern Indian Ocean, about 1,560 kilometers west of Perth. Right on the 7th arc, right where the math said it should be. But here's the kicker. This spot had never been searched before. The original search area had missed it by just a few dozen kilometers. So close, and yet the plane remained hidden. When Godfrey published his findings, the world paid attention. Ocean Infinity, a private search company, reviewed his work. They ran their own analysis, and they agreed this was the most promising lead in years. In December 2024, Malaysia announced they were resuming the search. Ocean Infinity would conduct it. They'd search 15,000 square kilometers of ocean floor, using autonomous underwater vehicles with advanced sonar, starting in early 2025. This wasn't just another search. This was different. They had better technology, better data, and for the first time in years, real hope. But here's the question no one wants to ask. What if they find it? What then? The black boxes stopped transmitting years ago. Their batteries died after 30 days. The data might be corrupted by salt water, by pressure, by time. The wreckage will be mangled, crushed, scattered across the seafloor. Picking through it will take months, maybe years. And even if they recover the flight recorders, even if the data is intact, will it tell us what we want to know? Will it show us what happened in the cockpit? Will it explain why someone turned the plane around? Will it give the families closure? Maybe, maybe not. Because here's the dark reality. Even if we find MH370, we might never know the full truth. Investigators have a theory. They call it deliberate action by someone on board. They think someone in the cockpit depressurized the plane, killed everyone, then flew it into oblivion. But they can't prove it. Not without the black boxes. Not without a confession. And everyone who could confess is dead. There's another theory. Hijacking. But no terrorist group claimed responsibility. And there's no evidence of a struggle. No evidence of forced entry into the cockpit. There's a fire theory. An electrical fire that knocked out communications. But that doesn't explain the turn, the deliberate route, the 7 hours of flight. There's a hypoxia theory, sudden decompression that knocked out the pilots. A plane flew on autopilot until it ran out of fuel. But again, that doesn't explain the turn. Every theory has holes. Every explanation falls short. And that's what makes MH370 so haunting. It's not just a mystery. It's an impossible mystery. But one thing is certain. Somewhere on the ocean floor, 3 miles down, MH370 is waiting. Intact or in pieces, with answers or without them. It's there. And soon we might finally see it. After 11 years, after millions of dollars spent, after countless sleepless nights. Arr! The truth is down there, in the darkness, in the cold, in the silence, waiting to be found. So what does all this mean for us today? MH370 changed aviation forever. Not because of what happened, but because of what didn't happen. The world realized something terrifying. In 2014, with all our technology, with all our satellites, with all our radar systems, a 250-ton airplane could vanish without a trace. That shouldn't be possible, but it was. Arr! So the industry changed the rules. New regulations were passed. Airlines must now track planes every 15 minutes over oceans. Not every hour, every 15 minutes. And if a plane deviates from its route, alarms go off immediately. Black boxes got upgrades. Their batteries now last 90 days, not 30. And they transmit on a frequency that's easier to detect underwater. New satellites were launched. The Aviation system uses space-based ADS-B. This tracks every aircraft everywhere in the world, in real time. No gaps, no blind spots. If MH370 happened today, we'd know where it went. We'd track it. We'd find it. Within days, not years. But here's what still haunts the aviation industry. MH370 proved that a determined pilot can still do the unthinkable. They can turn off the transponder. They can disable ACARs. They can fly the plane manually. They can avoid radar. And if they want to disappear, they can. Airlines added two-person cockpit rules. A flight attendant must enter the cockpit if one pilot leaves, so no one is ever alone in there. This prevents what happened with Germanwings Flight 9525, where a suicidal pilot locked himself in and crashed the plane. But it doesn't prevent a captain and first officer from working together, or from overpowering a flight attendant. There's talk of remote override systems, where ground controllers can take control of a plane if something goes wrong. But pilots hate this idea. What if it gets hacked? What if terrorists take control remotely? The technology exists, but no one wants to use it, so we're stuck. We've made planes harder to lose, but not impossible to lose. And that's the chilling lesson of MH370. For the families, the pain never ends. 239 people left for a trip and never came home. No bodies, no funerals, no closure, just questions and waiting and hoping that one day maybe they'll finally know what happened. Some families believe their loved ones are still alive, that the plane was hijacked, that they're being held somewhere. It sounds crazy, but grief does that. It makes you hold on to impossible hope. Other families have accepted the truth. Their loved ones are gone. The plane is at the bottom of the ocean, and they'll never see them again. But they all want the same thing: answers, proof, something to bury, something to mourn. That's why the 2025 search matters. Not because it might solve the mystery, but because it might give the families peace. And for the rest of us, MH370 is a reminder. The world is bigger than we think. The ocean is deeper than we imagine, and some places are still beyond our reach. We like to believe we've conquered the planet, that we've mapped everything, that there are no more mysteries. But MH370 proved us wrong. There are still places where things can hide, still depths we can't reach, still secrets the Earth won't give up. 3 miles down in the cold and the dark, MH370 waits, silent, alone, forgotten by the ocean, but not by us. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. Ocean Infinity isn't searching for free. They're using a no-find, no-fee contract. If they don't find the plane, Malaysia pays nothing. But if they do find it, they get paid millions of dollars. This sounds generous. But here's the twist. Ocean Infinity has a secret advantage. They've been collecting data for years, from previous searches, from drift analysis, from satellite imagery, from ocean floor mapping. They know more than anyone else, and they're betting they can find it. If they do, it'll be the biggest deep-sea discovery in history. It'll make headlines worldwide. It'll cement their reputation as the best in the business. But there's another angle no one talks about. What happens to the wreckage once it's found? Legally, it belongs to Malaysia, but families want pieces returned. Countries want the black boxes. The media wants photos. Everyone wants something. And then there's the aviation industry. They want to study the wreckage. They want to understand what failed, what can be improved, what lessons can be learned. But some people don't want MH370 found at all. If it proves a pilot deliberately crashed the plane, airlines will face lawsuits. Insurance companies will refuse to pay. Families will demand answers Malaysia can't give. If it shows a flaw in the Boeing 777, the manufacturer will face scrutiny, billions in liability, a damaged reputation. And if it reveals something else, something no one has considered, the fallout could be even worse. So there are powerful interests hoping the plane stays hidden, hoping the search fails, hoping the ocean keeps its secret. But the families don't care about lawsuits or liability. They just want their loved ones back. Or at least, they want to know where they are. Grace Nathan lost her mother on MH370. She was 31 years old. For 11 years, Grace has fought for answers. She's lobbied governments. She's organized memorials. She's never stopped demanding the truth. When Malaysia announced the new search, she cried. Not because she thinks they'll find it, but because it means someone still cares. Someone is still trying. That's what MH370 has become, a symbol of loss, of mystery, of the human need for closure. Every person who boards a plane now thinks about it. What if my plane disappears? What if I never come home? What if my family never knows what happened? MH370 tapped into our deepest fear, that we could simply vanish. That one day we're here, and the next we're gone. No explanation, no warning, just gone. And that's why this story will never die. Not until the plane is found. Not until the mystery is solved. Not until the families have peace. The search begins in 2025. Ships will leave port. Drones will descend. Sonar will ping the ocean floor. And somewhere, 3 miles down, MH370 waits. Will they find it this time? Maybe. The technology is better. The data is stronger. The location is more precise. Or maybe the ocean will keep its secret. Maybe MH370 will remain the greatest mystery in aviation history. Either way, the world will be watching, waiting, hoping, because finding MH370 isn't just about solving a mystery. It's about proving that no matter how deep the ocean, no matter how vast the emptiness, we don't give up. We keep searching. We keep hoping. We keep remembering. For 239 souls who deserve to be found. For families who deserve to know. For a world that deserves answers. MH370 vanished forever. But the search never will. If this opened your eyes, let me give you the 3 biggest takeaways from this story. First, MH370 didn't just crash. Someone deliberately flew it into the most remote part of the ocean on Earth. The satellite data proves it. The flight simulator proves it. The evidence all points to deliberate action. Second, we've never been this close to finding it. The WSPR technology breakthrough gave us a precise location. Ocean Infinity has the tools. Malaysia has committed to the search. 2025 could be the year we finally get answers. Third, this wasn't just a tragedy. It was a wake-up call. Aviation is safer now because of MH370. Tracking systems were upgraded, rules were changed, procedures were improved. The 239 lives lost weren't in vain. They made flying safer for everyone. But the story isn't over. The search is happening. Ships will leave port. Drones will descend. Sonar will pierce the darkness. And somewhere, 3 miles down, MH370 waits, silent, alone, a ghost buried in the abyss. 11 years of unanswered questions, heartbreak, and obsession have brought us to this moment. The ocean is vast. Its secrets are deep. But the world will not let them remain hidden. For the families, for the 239 souls lost in the night, for the truth that refuses to stay buried, MH370 will not be forgotten. And maybe, just maybe, this time, the silence will finally be broken.
If this journey pulled you in, if it made you think, question, or feel even a fraction of what the families felt, then like this video. Subscribe my channel, the Flight Untold, and turn on notifications, because this isn't the end, not even close. The aviation search is about to begin again, and when the silence finally breaks, you'll want to be here to hear it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe.